Well, good afternoon. Thank you for being here. I'm Daniel McKeever, and this is Serendipity Wine's Icon Series Tasting. Each of our guests today will have 15 minutes to run through their story and showcase two wines. You guys should have 8 little bottles and the new release pricing and library offerings. Each of the wines that we're tasting today has a little asterisk next to it on the sheet, so those just for your information. I'm going to keep everyone on mute for the time being, and I ask that you turn your cameras on as it will give some more energy to our presenters. If you have time during the end of each presentation, I will open it up to questions. And at that point, just raise your hand. I'll call on you. I'll unmute you, make sure you're unmuted, and ask away. If you have questions along the way, feel free to ask them in the chat room. Just type them in, and Kelly Frizzell will try to field those as we go. You can also place orders. We'll be happy to take them as we're going along. At the end of the presentation, at the end of the whole thing, we'll have a brief question and answer. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first guest today. Robert Parker dubbed her the First Lady of Wine. From Screaming Eagle to Paradigm, from Amuse Bouche to Grace Family, the list goes on and on, from 100-point wine to 100-point wine. She holds the record for the most expensive California wine ever sold. It was a 6-liter of the 100-point 1992 Screaming Eagle, which sold for $500,000. The daughter of a winemaker and the wife of another, Heidi Peterson Barrett is a rock star, plain and simple. Please welcome the one and only Heidi Peterson Barrett. Sorry, sorry, they're trying to get you unmuted. Hang on just one second. So Heidi, I think you have to push the unmute button on your screen.
Okay, how's that?
There we go.
Am I there? Yay, we got this thing worked out. Hello, everyone. Hello, all you Texans, and hi from Napa Valley. We're still here. We have a beautiful blue sky day today, which I'm so thankful for. We survived another round. I'm delighted to join you and have this little virtual visit to everybody in Texas. So you guys know a little bit about my background already, but we're here today to talk about La Serena, my own brand and winery that I started 25 years ago, believe it or not. Started in 1994. So I've been at this for a while. I continue to make wine for other wineries as well. I still enjoy that. I have a really good client list, and it's been really good for me to do that. I kind of thrive on the variety of clients and different vineyard projects that I get to work with. But for my own brand, I kind of focus on the wines that I personally love to make and especially love to drink. So there's some unusual ones in my lineup. If you check out our website, you'll see that I make a dry Muscat Canelli, which seems really odd for a Cabernet fan, and that being my favorite thing to make. But I also have other interests and like other flavors, like we all do. We like to eat and drink different things, different days. So I make a whole array of wines, to a really fun Rosato as well, made from Primitivo. Have a couple of fun winemaker blends that are things that I just wanted to create because they're delicious, as well as a couple of the more classics like our Cab, which we'll talk about in a little bit. That's kind of our flagship wine. My Pirate Treasure Red blend, that's definitely in the category of a winemaker wine. That's a proprietary blend of ours, so we'll talk about that as well. I welcome questions at the end or whenever we have time to fit that in. But yeah, winemaking is pretty classical, I would say. I use a lot of really traditional techniques. Things that are tried and true that work really well for me. I like to focus on, optimal ripeness for each individual block, pretty classic winemaking. I don't do any, not too many, you know, bells and whistles, pretty straightforward stuff. I'm actually picking a little bit of Muscat today. We brought it in from Lake County, and I'm hopeful that it's going to be successful and clean. We'll see once it goes dry, but it's in the press as we speak. So I'm pretty excited about that. As well as I did make some Chardonnay this year too, from some Russian River early on, and it is clean and beautiful, barrel fermenting right now too. So that's pretty fun to have those in the barn. So my lineup consists of things like Malbec from Knights Valley. That's really a fun wine. Daniel is showing some things on the PowerPoint right now to give you a little background and info about La Serena as well. But check out our website if you like what I do, besides the two wines that we're going to show you today, which are probably our two favorite, most popular red wines, I would say, that people really know us for. There's others to explore as well. There's some other, you know, fun flavored expressions there and different blends that are unusual. So the first wine, I think let's just get right into it, shall we? Go for it, with the first wine being our 2016 Pirate Treasure Red. And the whole thing of La Serena being this mermaid logo was sort of a reflection on my love of all things ocean and kind of the magic element of the ocean, as well as the magic element of fine wine, which we all know and are sort of drawn to. I'm a big scuba diver, so I love that. So along came this red blend, which was a blend of 7 varieties, or is a blend of 7 varieties. And I thought, well, this is kind of like Treasure of the Seven Seas. I think I might name it Pirate. And I went online. Nobody had trademarked that for wine, which was shocking. So Pirate Treasure Red, a play on treasured, something you value, and a red wine, Treasure Red. So that is the name of this blend. It is indeed a blend of 7 reds, and I'm going to list them for you in order of amount in the blend. So the 2 biggest ones are Syrah and Cab. The next 2 biggest components are Merlot and Grenache. And then 3 little spice elements that are much smaller percentages are Petit Verdot, Petit Syrah, and Cabernet Franc. And it's just kind of a very fun, layered, delicious blend. Even though I told you there's 7 varieties, there can be as many as 17 different components, because I'll have typically 3 or 4 different Syrahs that will make it into the blend, a couple different Cabs, you know, maybe only 1 Merlot, but there'll be maybe 2 different lots of Cab Franc, things like that. So it's a very, very kind of technical layered wine. And I love what each of those contributes into this just explosion of delicious flavors. I've often referred to it as kind of like Indian food, where there's so many spices going on in there and it's just delicious. You can't necessarily pinpoint any of them, but the yum factor is very, very high. And I think that's really enticing about this wine. If you have a chance to go online and have a look at the packaging, we had a lot of fun with that. It's in kind of a squatty little rum looking bottle, even though it's a very expensive French wine bottle, but has that sort of port-like shape that I thought looked like a fun rum bottle. If I'm going with the pirate theme, why not, right? Might as well keep going. And then it comes in little 6-packs that are printed to look like a little treasure chest. It's just a cardboard box, nothing fancy, but we printed little faux handles and a latch on there. So kind of kept going with the theme. The back label is written all in pirate speak, so you'll have a lot of fun with your customers and buyers at restaurants too, just reading the back label. We took some liberties with you know, pirate language, and even got away with listing a few of the varieties without listing all of them by making them members of our pirate crew, like Little Pete Verdot instead of calling it Petit Verdot, and Grenache, lots of R kind of things in there, Cabernet and things like that. So I always think there's no reason you can't have fun. You can make delicious, you know, some of the best wines in the world, but we might as well be a little playful with it and have a good time at the same time. I think that just brings more people into loving wine and enjoying it. And have some fun with that. So that is the story of the pirate. And of course, the classic cheers on that one is indeed R, right? You got to do that. So have some fun and clink glasses with anybody nearby in your pod. Okay. So the next wine is our flagship wine, as I told you, the Cabernet, which is really my first love. I love making Cabernet. It's what I've been making for my whole career, more than 40 years. It's probably what I'm known best for. I continue to make it for many, many different clients around the Napa Valley. And I love making Cab. It's just such a beautiful, wine, and just it grows, I think, no place better than in the Napa Valley. And the expression that you can get from different Cabernet blocks throughout the valley is really exciting to me. And I continue to love to, be surprised sometimes and just delighted by the amount of flavor and array of variety that you can get just with that one variety of grape, Cabernet. It can express itself many different ways. Mine is kind of a classic blend. It's predominantly Cab on the 2016, which is what you're drinking. It is probably something like 90%, 90, 91, 92, right in there, percent Cabernet. Then there's a little dollop of Merlot in there, and typically a very small percentage of Cabernet Franc. So kind of back to basics on the 16. In the past, sometimes I have thrown a little Petit Verdot in there. For 16, no. I just thought I'm always looking for the flow like silk expression across the palate. And for that year, that's how I got there. It is a very complete wine, which is always what I'm looking for. Some of you may have heard my 6 count, where I divide the impression of how wines taste into a count of 6. So think about the beginning palate is 1, 2, mid palate is 3, 4, and the finish is 5, 6. And for something like the Cab, I want that whole 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flow like silk across the palate. I want you to get all cylinders, on full tilt on that wine. So different varieties will plug into those different slots. And Cabernet Franc is often only 1, 2 for me. It's usually a little pow factor right in the initial palate. The first thing you taste, a little wow factor. That can come from Cab Franc. It is a burst right at the beginning, but Cab Franc often by itself sort of falls off a cliff. It doesn't have a fat middle very often by itself, or much length. It can be, 1, 2, 3, 4 sometimes, but almost never, nothing in the 5, 6 slot. But that's not how I use it. I want it to fill in that wow factor 1, 2. Cabernet can come in with the 3, 4, 5, 6. Merlot is often fat, lush middle, like 3, 4, 5, something like that. But it's just a tool that I use that works for me. I made it up years ago because it's how it helps me visualize and make a wine very complete. Like if I want to add a little more richness to something, like in the 4 or 5 slot, I can go back to my samples and see which wine is going to give that to me and plug that into the blend. So it's kind of a useful tool as a winemaker, as well as helping, anybody describe wine. Like you guys are welcome to make that your own and use it to help you remember other wines. Like if there's something that seems like it has a hollow middle, well, it could have used a little more in the 3, 4 slot, or it has a short finish. You only get 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a really fun tool to play with, and it kind of changes how you think about how does wine strike your palate, how does it feel in the mouth. We're all used to all the clever descriptors that all these wine writers are able to come up with. I'm always so impressed with that because I sort of struggle with wine notes. I've gotten better at it over the years, but some of the creative descriptions that they come up with always are kind of entertaining as well. So this is not about that. This is just about how does it feel across the palate, and is it a complete wine? So